All right. So this panel, we wanted to bring you to let you know that organizing is possible in the state of Texas. That it's not just possible, but it's happening. And let this panel be a spark that will create a flame that we can all fan moving forward as we continue to grow and organize in this state. So I'd like to introduce each of our panelists and have them give a brief introduction of themselves. So I'm going to start with Monica Gonzalez with the National Nurses Union. Monica?
Good morning. My name is Monica Gonzalez, as Rick said. I am with National Nurses United. I am a nurse at Ascension Seton Medical Center in Austin. I've been there for 19 years.
We're so honored to have you, Monica. Thank you for being here. We also have Quinn Craig, Starbucks partner from Workers United. I see you, Gene. Okay.
Hi there, my name is Quinn. I was with the company for about 5 years. However, the store that we ended up organizing, I was there for 2 years. Our 1-year anniversary as a certified union shop was it was June 23rd. And we were the very first store in Texas to ever file a petition to organize a union.
Woo.
Hello, I'm Tovah Moriarty. I work with Integral Care. I'm with the United Workers of Integral Care. I've been there about 6 years. I'm a social worker.
Awesome. Okay, so here's a question. First question to the panelists. We are so proud to have you all here with us, literally, today. When we last gathered in 2019, none of you all had a union here in the state of Texas. And so let me pose this question. What was the particular issue or the moment that ignited your organizing campaign? And what made you think you could even do this?
So for me, I did not have a particular moment that was the catalyst in pushing me to unionize. There were nurses in our hospital that experienced firsthand administration, gaslighting nurses, telling them that we did not have a PPE, or telling them that they weren't going to tell the nurses that we were going to be reusing PPE. Whenever I've had family members or community reaching out to the nursing staff offering PPE, and the hospital wouldn't allow us to use outside PPE. So these situations were the catalyst for one of our bargaining team members, Matthew Clark, to reach out to National Nurses United. For myself in particular, it was the slow degradation over time of conditions in the hospital, not just for the nurses, but for the patients. And seeing the changes in the hospitals, when I was approached, I absolutely wanted to join, because I knew that one person going to management and saying that enough is enough isn't enough. But when everybody raises their voice together, that is what's going to propel us forward.
Awesome. Thank you, Monica. That's awesome. Cool.
Well, so for me personally, I had originally been with the company from 2015 to 2018. I started working with Starbucks in San Diego, California at a very busy store in Trolley Central. And I was immediately struck by how different the company was when I first started working for them from all the other jobs that I'd had previously in the customer service industry. I had managers who would encourage me to stop the work I was doing if a guest was wanting to chat with me more and get to know me a little better, and they wanted me to do the same, which was very bizarre. It was always that you were supposed to be working. If you have time to lean, you have time to clean. We've all heard that one before.
If you have time to lean, you have time to
If you have time to lean, you have time to clean.
I'm going to use that.
Please don't. And along with things like, because a lot of the actions that we do all throughout the day are very reminiscent of like factory work. We're doing the exact same motions all day, every day for the shifts that we work. But the company used to force us to take like 3 minutes before, after, and in between our shift to do actual like stretches and wrist rotations and things to try and help maintain our health. And you know, all of that was incredible to me as a young service worker. And then I came back to the company in 2021, shortly like as they were coming off of all of their COVID precautions and everything, and it was a completely different ballgame. Fewer and fewer people were working on the floor at any given time, while we were expected to keep numbers going up and up and up. And they would constantly brag about how we got numbers up even higher this quarter than the last quarter, while we were all struggling and suffering, not being protected within our workplace from angry customers, from the virus. I mean, Starbucks was very quick to roll back all of their protections. We saw what was happening in Buffalo, and we all kind of knew that the second another store somewhere other than Buffalo filed a petition to unionize, that it was all over, like that was the floodgate that was opening. And as soon as it did start opening, we all just kind of looked at each other and said, well, we all care about each other and we all want to take care of each other, so we might as well get on this train. And we did, and now here we are.
There you go. That's awesome.
So I've been working in community mental health for about 6 years. Took a while for us to get to the point where we were unionizing, but at that point a lot of my coworkers and myself were really burnt out, because we would often be asked to do things like work unpaid overtime, not clock our hours if we're doing notes at home, have uncapped caseloads where we're just taking more and more clients that we really can't manage, so we're not giving quality care to our clients. We're doing a lot more that working outside of our job scopes, and whenever we try to set boundaries or push back on that, it was always, well, if you say no to this, your clients are going to suffer. And I think a lot of people working in these kinds of professions have those similar types of things. Similar to when we started to unionize, it's like, well, if you do this, your clients are going to suffer. Do you really want to hurt your clients? And they would always talk about self-care, you know, do yoga, do meditation, do these kinds of things, and if you're burnt out, it's your fault because you're not doing your self-care. It's not our fault because we're pushing you to the limit and not giving you the wage that you deserve. So that's really what pushed us to finally like hit a breaking point. It's like, no, we're going to unionize and we're going to get what we deserve, our wages, our reasonable caseloads, not just for us as well, but also so we can give quality care to our clients. And what made me think that we could do this, honestly, I didn't. I thought we were gonna lose. Everybody told us, around us, like people at the university that I came from, told us that this is like the white whale of unionizing, it's impossible, you will not beat integral care. So I was like, well, maybe we won't beat them, but I'm gonna give them a hell of a fight, and I'm gonna go out kicking and screaming if I don't. And we won, so. So y'all can win too if you think you can.
Tovah, how many members are there how many people work at there?
So we have about 1,000 people working at Integral Care. We're on a hiring freeze now, and they're about to lay people off, which we're going to fight them about too.
Okay.
But we have about 75, 80 members signed up now. It's difficult because we have a lot of turnover. A lot of people who joined quit because the working conditions are still not great. But we're working on it. We have about like 80 out of 1,000 people, and we're fighting to get that number up.
Very good. That's awesome. So, to each of y'all, where are you at in the bargaining process?
So we are currently at the bargaining table. We have been bargaining with Ascension since November, so approximately 9 months. And we've made multiple tentative agreements. We have tentative agreements from them, but there's still more to do. We have made more progress in bargaining since our strike than before our strike. So in the last month, we have made more progress at the bargaining table, and that's thanks to the hard work of a lot of the nurses in the hospital, but also thanks to you guys, thanks to the community members who are sticking up for the nurses and saying, we're not going to take this anymore.
Cool. But you still don't have a contract.
No, we still do not have a contract, but hopefully we're getting close. And obviously, if we don't see the progress that we expect at bargaining, then we may have to strike again.
There you go. Quinn?
So nationally, we at Starbucks Workers United have not seen a single tentative agreement with the company. I believe we will be approaching the 2-year mark of the first store in Buffalo filing their petition, but we're well over a year and a half since that first store was certified a union shop. And from my understanding, I of course am not in every single all 340 bargaining rooms across the country, but it sounds like Starbucks hasn't even stayed in the room long enough to listen to us give them one proposal. They just haven't heard us whatsoever. At my store, like I said, we just celebrated our 1-year anniversary as a union shop, and we haven't had a single minute at a bargaining table with the company, and not for lack of trying. We sent in a request to bargain the day that we got certified, along with a request for information, and the company sent us dates, but no information. And then finally, we got all of the information we were entitled to prepare our bargaining proposals 3 months after the dates that they had initially offered us. So it's just delays, everything they can to get us tired and to burn us out.
That is such crap. That's just, and there's no,
Like legal recourse?
yeah.
It kind of, but not really. I mean, the NLRB can't do too much outside of a slap on the wrist or telling Starbucks, no, you have to actually come and bargain in good faith. But even then, that process takes a very long time. We love the agents at the NLRB very much. They're doing good work, but that said, they're severely underfunded. We have a ULP charge at my store from March of 2022 that we are still waiting to get a hearing date on. That was the very first ULP we ever filed, and so we filed, and so we haven't even gotten to go to court over that yet.
Tovah?
Yeah, so Integral Care is public sector. It was kind of unclear when we first started trying to unionize because they like to ride this line of being a nonprofit versus being a public sector agency where they don't want to give us the rights that public sector employees have, but they also don't want us to be able to collectively bargain. So we don't have collective bargaining rights in Texas. So we're not bargaining a contract, but what we did instead is we got the board of our board to pass a consultation policy, which was a big fight to get. We had to meet with city council, the mayor, have them put a lot of pressure on our board to pass this. But with our consultation policy, what that means is every month we meet with the CEO, and it's kind of like an ongoing bargaining situation. We meet with our CEO every month, tell him what our demands are, tell him what our concerns are. Whether he agrees with us or not, he has to go back to the board every month and report to them what we're concerned about. And if they don't do anything about it, then we go back to public officials, elected officials. So that's where we're at. And right now we're on a hiring freeze because mental health is really underfunded in Texas, and they want to use that as a reason to not give us a pay raise and to lay people off, and we are going to fight them on that.
There you go. Yes, you are. Okay, so before our next question, we have a little self-criticism of the moderator, which is that we were also supposed to be joined by Jess Harden from the Fort Worth News Guild, who organized the union at the Fort Worth News, Star-Telegram as well. I mean, Dallas is also organized, Austin paper is also organized. There's a whole wave in that industry, but unfortunately, Jess had a medical issue yesterday and so was not able to join us, so I apologize for that. Jess is in our thoughts. We miss Jess on the panel. We wish that the moderator had done an effective job laying that out at the beginning, but we will move forward, right? We're not deterred, right?
No.
We're going to keep going, right? Okay. So but it sounds like from all three of y'all that there's been real hurdles to this, you can't even collectively bargain legally because of Texas being such a backward state that way. Quinn, you're dealing with a a company that's just flat out breaking the law and not being held accountable. And Monica, you guys are dealing with a hospital that sees themselves as above having to deal with the nurses.
They're a Catholic institution, and they lean heavily on that. So,
Yeah.
unfortunately, their practices don't reflect that.
Okay, got it. And so, what is it? How have you felt support from the broader? And this is what I think everybody needs to understand is like, what is how have you felt support from the broader labor movement, and what has that meant in your struggle?
So we have, from the beginning, had multiple actions where when we first filed for our election, we went to serve the administrators at the administrative offices with the code of conduct so that they could adhere to this. They didn't let us in, they locked us out, but you guys were there with us. I remember you specifically, that was the first time I met you. We've had, that same day we went to the administrative offices at the Ascension Hospital, and they wouldn't let us into that office either. I've gotten very used to having doors slammed in my face, and security called on me. Throughout this, we've had escalating actions. We had a candlelight vigil outside of the administrative offices. We had an informational picket. We had the strike vote inside the hospital over a 2-day period, and then we had the strike on the 27th of June. We've had smaller unit-based actions, but the ones that were public, there's always been not just the nurses. It's always been the community. They've been present. You guys have been present. I don't remember any names, and I cannot tell you what union they're from, but I know that there was over 18 different unions, 100 folks present at our strike, and that means so much. So for myself, at times it feels like there's like 10 of us running around the hospital doing a lot of the legwork, but on the day of the strike, hundreds of nurses showed up, and for them to see the support that we have in the community, that is huge. I mean, it's huge for me, but it's also huge for people who didn't know that we had this level of support, and it's inspiring. It's amazing to feel that support. It's like a giant hug.
A giant hug. That's awesome.
Well, so I mean, as soon as we went public with our intention to organize a union at our store, we immediately started seeing local union members visit our store almost on a daily basis, coming in, letting us know, like, hey, we are here because of what you are doing and because we believe in what you're doing. And I can't even begin to express how invaluable it is when people just show up and say, hey, we love you, we love what you're doing, and we support you. Just giving us like that little bit of encouragement from someone on the outside is massive. We face a lot of very subversive forms of union busting within Starbucks, where they like to lean on this dialogue that they have always been a very dynamic and flexible company, and so things have always been shifting and changing based on the needs of the business, and so all of the changes that they continually enact within our stores, you know, they're within their right to do it because there's a precedent to do it, even though it's disruptive change or just outright changes to our working conditions, or the withholding of benefits. Like, we still don't have credit card tipping at my store, even though that was one of our very first proposals
that
we
me off.
Yeah.
I hate
that we
that.
spoke
When
about
you,
publicly.
I mean,
Yeah.
when you show up to get the coffee and they don't even have you can't, when you play with the credit card, you can't, there's no way to leave a tip. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, and that one actually severely turned several members of my bargaining unit against the union, because they do, Starbucks did use that as a way to convince people that it was the union's fault that they're not getting those benefits, because you know, they can't make any unilateral changes. Meanwhile, they go and make unilateral changes to the way they calculate our labor and how they staff and schedule us, like, all of the time. So we're constantly dealing with this barrage of gaslighting, basically, of them making changes that are small, changes that are massive, telling us that they're well within our rights to do it when we confront them about it, and just repeatedly doing it because we can't really really do anything to stop them. So when people come in and they show us that love and that support, literally just saying, I'm so proud of y'all, it can change the entire course of our day. You have no idea. But outside of those small things, we have yet to put out a call to action, at least within San Antonio, that our supporters don't show up for. Anytime a store has gone on strike, we always have people out there on the picket line with us. Anytime we've needed to arrange like a GoFundMe or something for a worker who was fired in retaliation for collective action, people always show up and are always donating to those. We've hosted things like sip-ins where the idea is you come and you just tip really well in cash to sort of give the baristas like an easier financial week, especially at stores where they don't have the credit card tipping, and people always turn out for stuff like that. We always have people who are coming and who are showing us that love and who are meeting the call to action. And while we continue to go through this process of escalation to get Starbucks to actually come to the bargaining table, just knowing that y'all are out there and that y'all are willing to step up and stand with us on whatever line there is, you have no idea what that means to us.
Awesome. Thank you, Quinn.
I say very similar things to my other panelists of just people showing up and being there for us physically has been so important. Because we don't have collective bargaining, all of our fight is really with trying to convince our board of directors to agree with us and to push our executive management to do the right thing. A lot of times they need a little extra pushing. Some of that is from elected officials, but a lot of that is also from the community, other union members too. When we first were fighting to get our consultation policy passed, that board meeting, we started showing up at the board meetings months before that, but the board meeting where they were gonna make the decision on if they were gonna pass it or not, we had so many other union members come out. It was standing room only. We could barely fit in the room. And the pressure that put on them was incredible. Watching them look so nervous, seeing this room full of people, waiting for them to make the right choice. During citizens' comments, we made them stay so long after that meeting, so long before that meeting before they could get started, because so many people got up to speak about how they should do the right thing and honor our right to fair wages, our right to fair and safe working practices, and they passed it. So just, I think physically showing up for each other is so important.
That's awesome. So finally, Monica, if you had one ask of the labor movement as a result of what you've experienced in your struggle, what would it be?
Can I make it two?
Let's see. All those in favor of allowing her to ask, please signify by saying aye. Yes, you may.
Thank you.
Okay.
So I'm going to refer to my note cards because I wrote it down.
All those in favor of allowing her to refer to her note cards? The ayes have it.
So there are multiple bills right now in the legislature. The first one is a federal state staffing bill. There's the Workplace Violence Protection Bill, and then VA Fairness Act. The VA Fairness Act specifically will give nurses the ability to bargain over patient safety issues because they don't currently have that right. So what I would ask is that folks contact their state reps, their state congressmen, and ask them to support these bills, because these don't just affect the nurses in the hospital. They will affect the patients that come to get our services, because you want your nurses to have safe patient ratios. You want to be protected by having those nurses taking care of an appropriate number of patients. You don't want your mom going to the hospital after a stroke and finding out, oh, that nurse is taking care of 6 patients. How is she going to take care of my mom? You want her to have 4 patients so that she can pay attention to you and your family. The same with the violence prevention. We don't want people coming into the hospital and shooting us or strangling us or stabbing us. So we want to be protected while we're at work. So that was my first one.
Okay.
And then the second one is to show up, join us, because if and when we have a second picket, or excuse me, a second strike, we want that strike line to be as robust as it was or stronger. We want all of your voices reflected with ours, directed right at that hospital, because there was a moment at the strike when Ascension Management came out and everybody turned from looking at the street and was looking directly at that building and shouting at them. And that's what I want, is for all of you to be with us and shout at their stupid freaking faces and tell them we're not going to take this anymore.
That's awesome.
I guess mine's gonna it's kind of two, but it's the same thing at the end of the day. So the very first one, we actually have a national action that Workers United is organizing right now. If you go to the Starbucks Workers United website, or if you check out any of our social medias like Twitter, Instagram, any of that, you will find a link where you can go and sign up. It is Adopt a Store is what it's called. It's on August 7th. And our goal with this is to basically show Starbucks that it's not just the workers who are behind getting a contract from this company, that our customers also want it. We want to show them that the consumer base is equally behind the union and organizing as the workers are. And so if you would like to participate in this action, the union is awaiting for you. Right now, I think we have Dallas. I think we have one that's for sure organized in Dallas, but the other major cities in Texas are still needing some more people to sign up to make this happen. And the idea is that you're just going to go to Starbucks stores and you're going to educate your fellow customers. You're going to have leaflets and you're just going to strike up conversations with people and let them know about what's happening with Starbucks and this union movement, because right now that is our biggest hurdle. It's just the lack of knowledge. And then the second part of that is to follow us on all of our social channels. Reach out to us via email. I have a bunch of buttons, so if you see me after this, I'm more than happy to give y'all some buttons. I have a whole bag of them. Wear them, talk to your friends and family, but stay in the loop, because we always are pushing out whenever we have something going on. And we actually have like Twitters for each individual major metropolitan area. So there's one for San Antonio, one for Austin, one for Dallas, et cetera, et cetera. So if you live in that area, you can just keep up with what's going on in that area. So yeah, those are my two asks.
Awesome, thank you. All right. Tovah?
My general ask is just be aware of what's happening with mental health in Texas. When voting comes, keep that in mind. What funding is coming for mental health. General ask. My more specific ask, we don't have anything we're asking for right now with our union, but we're all stronger together. So my ask is, in the next few months, if everybody could do one thing to physically show up for somebody in a union that's not yours, do that. That's my ask.
That's awesome. Thank you. Look, y'all, what you have done under really difficult circumstances lifts us all. It shows us that we can do this, y'all, that organizing in Texas is possible. And your inspiration and your courage is inspiring to us. And also, I will say that what's so clear to me is that when you're fighting for your rights on the job, what you're really fighting for is for your patients, for your customers, and for the clients that you serve. And at a time where the union is your voice to be able to do your job in the way that you chose to pursue your profession. And that intersection of interest is something that I think more and more people are understanding. So what I say to the delegates is that we're going to be putting on lots of more trainings around how to be an organizer. I hope that people will take advantage of that. We're going to be looking for ways to show our solidarity. But more than that, we have to show up for each other, y'all, because what you're doing is good for yourselves, it's good for us, and we need to be there for you. So let's give a warm thank you to our panelists for your work. Stay strong, one day stronger, one day longer. Thank y'all very much.